Attention, everybody. The views and opinions expressed on this show are not necessarily those of Acts Ministry, Acts Media Group, and or its affiliate and subordinate ministries that are nonprofits. Some of this content may be adult in nature, so please use discretion as watching with your children. They might have some questions, folks. They might say, what does that mean? They might say, is that bad?
Yeah.
And you'll be like, no. And then that's called using discretion while watching with your children. Good morning! Coming to you live from Acts Media Group headquarters here in beautiful Springfield, Missouri. It's the Morning Drive, and Matt and Jay with your hosts. Matt and Jay, that's me and him and I. The man with the plan over there, sitting behind the control panels. Running this place. Today we're talking about determining your own value, right?
Yep.
Oh, okay. She got lost. A lot of people get lost around here. So good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Morning Drive with Matt and Jay. My name is Matt.
My name is Jay.
We're glad to have everybody on board with us today.
Yes, we are.
So,
I'm getting the commercials ready.
You know, I'm going to try something because I think that hiss is still there.
Yes, it is. It is definitely still there.
Is it there now?
No. Now it's back.
Yeah, that's because it's because of this.
Probably too tight.
Oh, that's it. So, folks, we're glad to have everybody on board with us today. This is an early start to the learning curve.
Yeah.
I think I probably need to turn the volume on number 3 down.
A little bit. It's 3. Yep. There we go. It's gone, bro.
Right, so-
Bruh, it's gone.
Is it gone?
Yeah,
How about this?
it's gone. It's gone.
Oh, okay. So it was that staticky. Turn the thing off and turn it back on.
Yeah.
We just wanted for you guys, the listeners, the viewers, to not only have an awesome viewing experience, which is what you see when you're looking at us because we're awesome, but also so that we can, so you can have a good listening experience as well. It's important. So we got a guest on the way here, and her name is what?
It is Deborah.
Deborah. I think she'll probably not want me to call her that.
Probably not.
Sounds like I'm saying the donkey in Spanish. We don't want that.
It is Deborah Schaulis or Schaulis.
Schaulis? Oh, let me.
Yep.
Sorry about that. Boy, we look like professionals here. Good morning, Stacy Wedeking.
I have not liked and shared this video.
Are you using diffused light? No. Should we, Pastor? Have you been reading something about that? Mo Crete is Pastor Paul from Northwest Church. You can check
That's
that
where
church
we
out.
go to church.
Yeah, you can check them out at northwestchurch.church. It's a
And
great,
you should come.
great place. You should come. It's amazing.
You won't regret it.
Super cool green screen. How cool would it be to get the sides greened out? That's where we're headed at Northwest. Yes, we're going to be building a video recording booth up there it's going to fold out. The floor's going to fold and it's all going to be green screen.
Yes.
Which I would love to have green carpeting, green walls in here. So that
There's
way.
my video on YouTube. This video is on YouTube. Did you know that?
No, is it one of the writing videos?
It's this video. It's live.
Oh, I thought you were talking about because you were getting your writing video. Good morning.
Well, I did download one of my
morning, Susan.
memory cards onto, and it's all kind of the same, but it's shot from different ways. I've got one I shot
Misty
from
Prince.
my helmet
Hello.
yesterday. The other ones were shot from my side mount that I downloaded onto my hard drive off of my card. So yeah, making progress there. I'm sharing this to Facebook from YouTube.
I guess this is kind of what you would call diffused lights. Is LED? It's LED studio lighting. Now, okay, so what he's talking about diffused light is the umbrella with the cover across the front of it. That's diffused light. That's like so it's not so harsh and bright. It softens it up.
Yeah, what do we got here?
But that's sorry, I was just catching up on all the old comments there. Misty Prince says hi, good morning. We are glad that you are here with us today. It's been a while, and
Yeah, hi, Misty.
Misty Prince. And I'm getting ready to like and share this video because that's important. So
Yes.
today, and we gotta. It sounds like we might end up not getting to our deal. We've got a guest who is what did you call her?
I think she's a domestic missionary.
Yep.
Hello.
Domestic missionary.
Good morning.
3. We got her set up on 3. Jump on in. Grab you some headphones, right?
Yeah.
Thanks. Pastor Paul says, great idea on the carpet thing. I love just hanging out with super smart dudes like you guys. Thanks, Pastor.
Oh, yeah. Thanks, Pastor. Did I detect some sarcasm in there?
No. Oh, no, no, not at all. So welcome to the show. Hi. You want to pull that by this arm, pull it a little bit close by the arm here.
This here?
Yeah.
And you talk into it here.
Yeah.
Right.
So there you go. Have you ever been on a radio or TV show before?
Deborah, right?
Not that. Well, actually, when I was
and
a
now
little kid.
You want to talk into that?
Actually, pull it a little bit closer to her.
Yeah.
And
There
a
you
little
go.
bit down so that way it's not in her face.
Yeah.
And I'm going to turn her volume up a little bit. But
Yeah, let's do
continue.
that.
Hi.
So when I was a little kid, gosh, I don't even remember how old I was. There was a program that was on TV. It was called Wizard of One. And
Yeah.
That's probably the only time I've been on TV that I can remember.
All right. And I think a little bit higher, Matt.
Yeah, I think continue on.
Okay.
Yeah, because we're testing your signal to make sure it's equal to ours.
Okay.
Yeah. So we usually have people do their ABCs like it's a conversation. So I would go A B C D E F G H I J.
But
Okay.
she's
But,
actually conversating. So that's
Conversation.
Okay.
Yeah.
I bet you we're good now.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Well-
All
Welcome.
right. So welcome to Axe, and welcome to the Morning Jive. We're really glad to have you here. So
We were going to say that you are a domestic missionary. Is that what I was told?
Yes.
Yes.
Currently.
Currently.
Yeah, we've got to get passports, and you know how complicated that is now.
I don't. I don't
Um,
have a passport. I just do the state to state thing.
Yeah, and I don't want to get immunized either. So
Right.
yeah.
So that complicates it. Yeah.
yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. I did some traveling and it is weird in different state to state, some, you know, but I also visited some family in the different states. So I kind of got what they said a little bit. Now, there were some places I went where everybody wore a mask and they wouldn't serve you without one.
Mhm.
And some places it was like, you know, I'm
Who
not
cares?
wearing one.
Yeah.
It really depends. I actually have 3 different kinds of masks.
Yeah.
I have a face shield for those that are really militant about it.
Mhm.
I have a cloth one for the ones that just won't be satisfied with anything unless everything's covered.
Yeah.
And then I have a net mask for Walmart
Nice.
because I can breathe through that thing. I comply with all the laws that cover the nose and the mouth.
Yeah.
It's like I saw a guy with a crochet one, and it's like
Yeah.
I mean, it basically does the same thing, just a little bit less. Like it just slows the flow of air and particles
Yeah.
to people.
I
And
think of it
I'm-
as a petri dish.
Well,
Exactly.
I studied condoms when I was in the pro-life ministry, and they were telling us for safe sex to wear a condom to prevent the spread of AIDS. Well, the AIDS virus
It's
is
smaller.
like this big. The natural pores
Yeah.
in the condom are this big,
Yes.
and therefore,
They actually taught us that in school. Whenever I was in school, they said the AIDS virus attaches itself to the blood cell, and it's like way smaller than the blood cell, and that there are natural pores in prophylactics, and the AIDS virus still goes through it.
and it's the
Now, is
same
that
with
still
the
the case, though?
coronavirus.
Because they've
Yes.
changed them.
Well,
Oh, yeah.
because unless you're wearing those ones that are carcinogenic,
Now, how did they effectively reduce the transmission of AIDS?
so
Awareness, I guess, partly.
part of it is that, but you weren't really
protecting
protecting
yourself.
So basically, condoms,
They don't protect very well against pregnancy, quite frankly.
Well, see, you can only get pregnant 3 days out of the month,
Right.
and
Well,
so,
I can't.
Well,
That was good.
gotcha.
Yeah.
We're goofballs here.
Yes.
We're serious sometimes.
So,
I've tried, believe me.
So a girl can only get pregnant 3 times out of the month, 3 days out of the month, because
Right.
that's the only time that you're fertile. And yet, at that time when I did my research, the condoms were only about 37% able to prevent pregnancy.
You know, so I did try to get pregnant a lot, but it always ended up being my wife, and
Oh my
she
goodness.
always ended up getting pregnant instead of me. And our third son was a what is it called? Antibiotics baby. So she was on antibiotics, so her very effective birth control pills became ineffective.
Yes.
Funny thing is, so we knew this, so we wore condoms. Well, they apparently
Then
and yeah, they failed.
Mhm.
Clearly, obviously
God
failed.
wanted
We
your
knew
children
that
to
they
be
had
here.
failed.
God wanted your children to be here.
Yep. And they even had, I think, spermicides on them.
Oh, wow.
So I don't know how this happened,
So
but
you took every precaution you could, and
Yep.
yet God said, nope.
Except
Yep.
for abstinence.
yeah, he looks like me. He talks like me. He's a mini me, but he's not mini because now he's taller than me.
Now, they taught me in school, and they probably wouldn't teach that nowadays, but, abstinence is the only 100% way.
It really
of not
is,
getting
yeah.
pregnant.
Mhm.
Yep.
So, unless there's only one that got pregnant without intercourse, and that was the Virgin Mary.
Yes.
And that was
Mhm.
quite a while ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
A couple thousand years. But we knew she was going to be here. The prophecies told of her.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I don't know when that was. Do you know what? How long ago the prophecies of the Virgin were?
Well, it was 400 plus years before Christ. So, gosh.
You know what
Math-
we're talking
math
about
is
today?
not my thing. No.
Understanding your true value.
Oh, I have lots to say about that.
And I'm segueing from my son, who God wanted to be here
Mhm.
for some reason, and I now especially see why. It goes to my self-worth is I'm an alcoholic, and so I was drunk for about 27 years of my life while I was raising a family. Had a bad back, so I ended up having a lot of self-worth issues,
Yes.
and that caused insecurity, and I had a lot of problems with
Morning,
rage
Cheryl.
and all that stuff. So I lost my family for about 8 years by choice. They didn't want to see me anymore,
Mm.
and so I what is it called? Relented to that, allowed it, and I knew I had a problem,
Mhm.
so got sober. And now I'm trying to rebuild my life. And that is one of the reasons why I think God wanted him here, because he was the first one who reached out to me and came back to me to live in my home to get his last year of high school, and was going to drop out. And we had a lot of really difficult conversations. We managed to actually have them, though, and to not explode and, have it be just a confrontation. But and I had the example of my own life getting kicked out of school when I was 16.
Mm.
So
You were
I
able to be
knew that he
gracious.
was really making a mistake,
Yeah.
because I knew he was intelligent, as I was. But then also through life, you have a bunch of interests and talents and skills that you didn't know you have. And you see
Mhm.
professions that you would be very effective and capable of, but then you don't have that
Education.
credential.
Yeah.
And so you can't go to college until you get your GED. Then you got to get your prerequisites. Whereas if you had that already and then go to college for prerequisites, I tell all the young kids, graduate, get your prerequisites out of the way in college. Then as you grow older in life and you find an interest or some way that you can really, you can just go and do it
Mhm.
and you're ready.
Hey, Jay, real
Yeah.
quick. Do you have her name on a banner already?
I do not. I have it.
Oh, okay. Don't worry about
So
it.
you can go to YouTube and search your own name,
Oh,
And, it'll
and this
come up.
video will come up. And we recommend
Okay.
that you do that and then share
Okay.
it with your friends, because it helps us and it helps you. And it's kind of fun.
Yeah.
You go into YouTube, just go into YouTube in the search bar and search your own name, and this video will come up. Isn't that great?
cool.
So we've been working on that, developing how to better use our technology and for the value.
Right.
We want to create a platform where people can come in and produce and share their material
Yeah.
with an audience and not have to go through what we did, which is a kitchen and dining room full of this. Can you imagine this in a kitchen and dining room? And it was more, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
It was a whole lot more because we had actual sound booths because we also had a band going, and so we have that here available for people to come and hopefully they see the value in what we have here and decide to do it and decide to come. We've got a lot more to work out, but so what about understanding your true value?
We need to take a real quick
we do.
break.
We're late.
That's all right. And here in 5 minutes, we'll do the other one. We do.
Thank you, Matt.
Some people actually donate and help us out to further our mission, and we like recognizing them on here. So real quick, hey, see y'all in just about 20 seconds.
I feel so sluggish. Who knows what to do?
And welcome back. Boy, that was a long 20 seconds, huh? Took forever, didn't it? So we're really glad to have you. I'm not as good at asking questions. Jay is really good at coming up with questions. And
I'm good at talking. He's
a really good interviewer.
Okay. Well, you were asking about value. I actually, God kind of put that bee under my bonnet when I was in Youth with a Mission several years ago. And one of the weird ways that he does it with me is with people's names. I've looked up hundreds of names through the years, and it's so cool to me that when you look at the meaning of someone's name, their mom and dad may not have realized it, but they were making a proclamation over that child from the moment that child was born. And like my name is Deborah, and in Hebrew that means honeybee. And I always kind of wondered, why in the world would you name your child honeybee? But then I started studying what bees do. And I was like, oh, that's so cool. It's like, I'm like a bee. I take the sweetness of the word and I distill it into a useful form for the body of Christ.
Oh, wow.
And, I'm like a honeybee. You mess with anybody else in my hive and you are going to pay for it.
And do you dance? Because bees dance.
Not very well.
Sorry, that was a bad joke.
Butt with the best of them, but it's not pretty. But yeah, and I like to tell people, bees, the reason they do that dance is they're telling the other bees where they can find nectar.
That is a really good.
Yeah.
By dancing. And
Yep.
it's so basically people are like you want them to find the kingdom by your actions.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Exactly.
Man, that's okay.
And your word.
I'm liking where this is going. Continue.
So anyway, a lot of times when I meet somebody new, I'll ask them, what's your name? So like, what's your first name?
Jason.
That means healer. And so from the day that your parents gave you that name, God was proclaiming that destiny over your life, that he wants to use you to heal and to minister to people that way. And with your background, one of the things, I used to work in jail ministry. And one of the things I told my girls is God never wastes anything in your life, no matter whether it's good or bad. He is going to take that experience. 2 Corinthians chapter 1, verses 3-5 says he's the God of all comfort who comforts us in our affliction.
Amen.
So that we can comfort others in their affliction with the same comfort with which we have been comforted.
Right.
And so it's like those things that you've been through in your life, whether they seem negative or positive at the time, he's going to use you to share that same wisdom, that same grace that he gave you during that time of suffering.
And so he will use you as well.
Exactly.
To our audience and our viewers.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So, and speaking of jail ministry, there was a girl using that thing of names. We would go through, we had Simple Church is what it's called. It's a format where you sing a song or two you read a Bible passage, and then you just talk about, what was God speaking to you through
Yeah.
that?
And the Lord has used me
Yeah.
in a healing way in
Yeah.
those,
Yeah.
in through my experience, and it has not gone to waste. I wouldn't trade it,
Yeah.
though I do
You
regret.
wouldn't wish it on your worst enemy.
No,
though.
I wouldn't. Yeah, exactly. I think that's the
Right.
right way to put it. Now, his name is Matthew.
Matthew. I think if I remember right, that means God's gift.
Yes.
Okay.
I agree.
Yeah.
Whoa now. Whoa. Yeah, I used to carry around a thing that my mom gave me, and it said Matthew, gift of God, and then it explained like if there was scripture and stuff. But yeah, I never really I try not to think of myself as a gift, to people.
Well, you don't want to be prideful,
Right.
Right.
I get worried
but
about
I
that.
see you that way.
Well, you're a gift to me too. So, and the healing, that makes sense. I should get a book to read about what the
Well,
names mean.
there's a really fantastic website, and I have it bookmarked.
Are there
on my-
bad names?
So there's names that you need to overcome the meaning of.
Like Tiffany. I'm just kidding.
Oh,
That's a joke.
Tiffany.
That
Tiffany
was a joke, folks.
Tiffany means image of God.
Oh,
Really?
So that's a
So-
beautiful name. But like Mary, how many people in Christendom do you know with the name of Mary?
A lot.
In the Hebrew, that means bitter. And I'm like, why
Oh.
would you name your child bitter? But if in other languages, it means something more positive. Like in Latin, it means star of the sea.
Hmm.
And so, it's like Jabez, great example from the scriptures.
What does bitter mean?
Bitterness is something that it's basically carrying a grudge for so long, it starts to sour in your spirit.
Yeah. So the Virgin Mary was the total opposite of that. See,
She
people
was.
probably name their kid, marry their kids.
Well, she
Because
did
they-
come with her family
Yeah.
to get him, didn't they?
To get,
Isn't there a story where they came with she and her sons came to get Jesus, and he said, "No, these are my brothers and sisters here."
oh yeah, when they thought he was crazy.
Yeah.
Because he was doing things like nobody else had done before.
Yeah, which I mean, think about it. If that started happening today, I mean, yeah,
I do believe that God has a place for everything. That bitterness isn't always bad.
Mm.
Bitterness can come to a head in such an extreme way that it reveals where a problem might be, and it's such a dramatic display when it comes to a head that people tend to maybe gain something from it or see their own a reflection of something in their own life through it.
so
where
have,
they
But
might
it
need to
can
do some work.
defile a lot of people, like
It
it says
can.
in Hebrews.
Yeah.
Hebrews chapter 12 talks about not keeping bitterness in our heart.
Part of my rage
Because
problem
it'll-
was,
yeah,
and my name's
yeah.
not even Mary.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to start calling you Jason Mary.
Yeah,
Oh,
Jason
no,
Mary.
no.
So now
we should
this
go to
is
another commercial.
yes, real
we
quick
got to get that done.
because we're we're doing it every 5 minutes today.
Yeah. Well, to get
This
them
was
all
read
through,
10,
'cause I
20,
missed
and
one.
30. We do a 20-second commercial at 10, 20, and 30. And but this is so interesting that
It is
birth pains are bitter, Dennis Everson says.
true.
Cheryl is like, oh, this is all cool. Well, we'll get back to that here in just. Cheryl is wanting to know what the meaning of her name was. So until then,
We'll be right back.
we'll be right back.
Billings, Montana.
We are
back.
back. So Cheryl says bittersweet. That's right. You can't have the sweet. You can't taste the sweet without the bitter.
True.
That's
Yeah.
like you can't be down if you've never been up, and they don't have. You can't feel cold water if you haven't felt hot water, or vice versa.
Yeah.
So with everything where there's joy, the bitterness would be kind of its opposite.
Yeah.
Mhm, mhm.
So everything is a one. It's a balance.
Yeah.
And that's what's awesome about God is He created our world with such a balance that it's perfect. The balance. I mean, and so when things go out of balance, it throws everything into chaos.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. But
Have you seen people overcome their name?
so I was gonna say when we did the simple church format, in jail ministry. There one night when we were talking about the scripture passage where Jacob got a new name. And I told these girls, I said, you know, and most of the girls that I worked with were incarcerated for like they had gotten off of parole, you know, they had a parole violation, they got in there for drugs or domestic violence or whatever. And a lot of them were Native American. And as you know, the Native Americans have a lot of challenges from their culture. But what I told these girls is I said, God wants to speak to you. And I said, tonight, before you go to bed, if you would ask the Lord, what do you say my name is? Because I told them that when Jacob got a new name, he actually got a new identity. And he started living differently as a result of what God communicated to him through his name. And so these girls, I told them that. I say, go to bed, ask the Lord what you say my name is, and come and tell me the next week. And, I'll tell you what that means.
Did they look up names, or would they?
No, they just asked the Lord, and he spoke to them. And he spoke to more than one, but the one that was so amazing, this girl came back the next week, and she was there. She was a single mom. She'd been on drugs, she'd gotten clean, but then she did something, and I never asked them because it was kind of a don't ask, don't tell kind of thing. So she came back and she was so excited. She said, God said, my name is Angela. And I said, well, do you know what that means? And she says, angel, right? And I said, yes, but do you know what angel means? And she said, no. And I said, angel means messenger. So God's telling you, and I said, you don't have to go and be a missionary overseas. I said, you can be a missionary right here in this jail, because she was incarcerated for a whole year. I said, God is telling you.
Wherever you are.
Yes, yes. I said, he's telling you that he wants you to be his messenger. And we got to see this girl over the next several months grow into that identity.
Wow.
She, one night in particular, there was this girl that had never been incarcerated before. She was really scared. She was really nervous. Angela was actually Caucasian, but this other girl was Native American. And she came in, and Angela dragged her to the meeting because that was one of the things that
so
she
you
did.
give her by her new name.
Yeah, yeah. And so anyway, she dragged this girl to this meeting, and this girl was, we did a little introduction, every week, and this gal said who she was, and she was just starting to just kind of go off on how anxious and how scared she was because she didn't understand the process. And it's a crazy, convoluted process. If you've ever been incarcerated, I don't know how people get through it. Just the whole court system is so confusing. But anyway, Angela jumps in and she says, oh, but we talked about this. She said, you remember we read this verse, and it said such and such and so and so. And she said, we prayed about it. God's going to take care of you. He's going to navigate you through this whole thing. And I'm just sitting there and I'm just watching this happen. And after a little bit, she says, oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to take up your time. I said, no, you go, girl.
Right.
I said,
Messenger.
you are not seeing anything different than what we would say. You're doing a great job. I love this.
You know what's really cool?
Yeah.
Is we found out about you coming yesterday? Was it yesterday?
Yeah.
And we had already decided what do you call it? The title of the show and the subject matter of what we're speaking about. And we'll get that last commercial out here in just a second. About determining, understanding your true value and finding out what your value is, what you got to live up to with your name. Because I always wondered, I was like, you can names. Definitely, the name makes the person a certain way.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I've noticed similarities between people with the same name.
Mm-hmm.
So, anyways, we're going to go ahead and hop off of here for about 20 seconds and then come back. This will be the last break of the day as far as on our show. So, we'll be right back.
Where do I find the best signs for the best price?
I know where.
Johnny Rooster does all that.
And we're back.
He does a pretty good job. We need to get him some better
Software.
AdWords. Now the drawings, he draws them himself.
Yeah.
Very cool.
And if we after the show we can show you the rooster wall in there. I think he still has all of his drawings in there of past guests and stuff. If someone comes on his show and stuff, he draws pictures of them, and they're basically caricatures.
This is what we're seeing online.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah, you can see it. You can see it down there. And, that may be hard for people to see. Anyways, where were you at? The messenger.
Yeah. So yeah, she just, before she was released, it was a
How do you
total
think people relate
transformation.
that to value? Now, we're talking about different kinds of value. You know how they say most men make their fortune in their midlife? That's when they start to make their fortune.
Mhm.
How does a person discover their value in the world, where they can translate that into actual monetary gain, where they can gain independence and develop a what's that called, like an inheritance, and
Mhm.
Legacy.
a legacy. Yeah.
Well, my husband and I are not the best examples in that. We did everything wrong financially when we first got married. My husband had over $20,000 in student loans, and he was making about $6,000 a year. We did everything wrong with the whole dating process and wound up being pregnant and eloping and having a baby. And so we didn't start out very well, but what we did was we started reading the scriptures. And, Malachi talks about how you bring the whole tithe into the storehouse and he's going to provide for you.
Mm-hmm.
And
And the priests were to tithe the tithe,
mhm, mhm.
and that was to put back for long, like famines,
Storage.
and
Yeah.
storage
Yeah,
for famine and war, and
But the awesome thing was that, even though, when you're making $6,000 a month or $6,000 a year and you've got $20,000 in debt,
that's going to be a long time.
yeah, you usually have more month than you have money.
Yeah.
But God was so faithful. He just constantly kept providing for our needs. And we got out of debt within 10 years. And we were actually able to save up and to buy a house and then sell that house actually here in Springfield. We bought it above market value. And when we sold that house was actually 2010, when as you recall, the bottom kind of dropped out
Right.
of the economy. But we felt like God was calling us back into missions. And so we said, hey, if you want us to go be missionaries in Flagstaff working with the Native Americans, then you're going to have to sell this house for us. And it's actually going to have to sell for more than what we paid for it.
Do you think that's something, not just necessarily names, but what drives a person to establish what they feel their own value is, right? May come from a different principle place in them. So you guys your heart is for missions.
Yeah.
So your dividend wouldn't be financial.
No.
Like you're not the ones who support the church and
Mm-mm.
support and get,
Well, actually we do. Anytime we get money coming in, it goes 10% off
to the mission.
top. Yeah. Well, to whatever ministry God puts in our hearts. We
Right.
actually support other missionaries.
What kind of missions have you done so far?
We work primarily with Youth with a Mission, which is a non-denominational missions organization. It's actually one of the biggest ones in the world. And it was started by an Assemblies of God pastor. So it's very charismatic. And yet we've met people that are Catholic, that are Methodist, that are just whatever denomination background that you can think of. Haven't met an Amish person yet in YWAM, but yeah, Mennonite, I mean, you name it, they're involved in it. And YWAM is really big on talking about value. And one of the things that YWAM is really, really big about that really transformed our lives is that every person can hear from God.
Mm.
And that, I think, is the key to understanding your value.
Well, that's what he wants more than anything.
Absolutely. He wants us to know, the slogan of YWAM is to know God and to make him known.
Mm-hmm.
But part of that process of getting to know God is you also need to understand how God sees you. And a lot of us, depending on our baggage, depending on the programming, good or bad, from our childhood, we don't have a proper view of ourselves.
Yeah.
And if you can learn to listen to God and let God tell you, this is what I called and created you to do. Probably one of the most valuable things that anybody ever challenged me to do was to write a personal mission statement. And this was actually after I was in YWAM, so I learned to hear from God. And I asked him, I said, what do you say my job, my mission is? And he told me very succinctly, which is, I'm not a brief person.
No, that's all right. No, it's good. We may,
we have 3.5 minutes,
and we may extend this into the learning curve. I mean, if you'd be, what do you think about that?
We would want to stop it and restart it, so we have a 40-minute segment
and change the backdrop. But continue.
Yeah.
So
please.
what he told me was my job was to creatively communicate God's truth for transformed lives. And that brings into play my spiritual gifts. I'm primarily prophetic. I also have gifts of exhortation, words of knowledge, words of wisdom, the gift of teaching. All of those different gifts are all rolled into that mission statement. And that really guides it. A lot of times your spiritual gifts can give you a really good indication of this is what I call them to do.
I struggle to even know what mine are.
Well,
and I think that's common.
I think that's common. It is very common.
Yeah.
Our pastor did a whole entire sermon on it, actually, about spiritual gifts.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the one day that I wasn't able to be there.
Oh.
Do you find a lot of the
there,
church...
but not. Sorry, I couldn't stay. Anyways, go ahead.
Do you find a lot of the churches wandering aimlessly, like wasting their gifts, or squandering them, and that if they knew and understood what their gifts were, that the church would be more effective? Because I do think that's part of the case. I mean, I just jump in and try to do whatever I can do, whether I'm good at it or not. A warm body can make a lot more progress than nobody. So I try to just jump in where no one else will and do whatever that is.
You definitely have a servant's heart. So
I do. But that doesn't mean I know what my gifts are. You know what I mean? I
actually just finished last fall writing
How did you
a book
discover
about spiritual gifts. Well, there's lots of inventories out there.
Oh, you said through your writing your mission statement.
Yeah. Well, no. Actually, I knew before that a little bit of what my spiritual gifts were. But as I've studied spiritual gifts, I've actually gotten to where I can pretty much tell what gifts people have. And part of that's, kind of a spiritual discernment, but also part of it is just, knowing what the gifts look like and how they function within an individual, within a body. And the book that I've written isn't just about how spiritual gifts look in ministry. It's also how they look in marketplace settings.
Now, has this book been published?
I'm working on it. I've actually...
Because we want you to come on and talk about it when it does get published. So we can, talk to your publicist and see if coming on here, and we want the exclusive here, we don't want the exclusive, of course. But we'd love to have you on here to talk about your book. We have authors come on here all the time. We had a friend of mine named Quinn Griffith was on here, and he's an author of a very, very good, it's the Law of Moses series, and it's a Western book, and I usually don't like the Western books, and it's all about, God is in those books too. So
Would you like to continue this conversation on another segment?
Sure.
And that would be 20 minutes away. You have the time before 20 minutes before it starts back up.
Sure.
All right.
All right. Well, I'd like to thank everybody for joining us on the morning drive today. We'll be back on tomorrow, same time, same channel. Be sure and tune in next for The Learning Curve, where we continue our discussion with Mrs. Deborah. I can't remember your last name. Schaulis. Okay, Deborah Schaulis here. And we're going to continue to talk about our value. So it's going to basically be like a morning drive 2-hour special. So until then, my friend. Oh, and it's followed by, I think Rita Sanders is supposed to be here. I need to text her by now. But until then, my friends, God bless you and keep you. We love you. My name is Matt.
My name is Jay.
And I'm Deborah.
And this has been
The
Morning
Morning
Drive.
Drive.
Bye, everybody.